Here's how I made a curtain with no sewing experience. So about 2 years ago, IKEA did a collab with Sandra Rhodes, and I immediately fell in love with a fabric that she designed for them. It's this blue fabric with kind of pink flowers on it and all these different colors, and it's just so pretty. I really loved it and I just had to have it. So I ran to IKEA to get it, and when I got there I saw that it cost like 40 euros for one piece of fabric. And since I didn't have a purpose for it yet, I just couldn't justify buying it. So yeah, I just went home and I was really sad, but you know, that's life. And then like 6 months later, I was at IKEA and I walked into the sales nook, and you can guess what was there. I found the last 2 pieces of the fabric, and both of them were sold for 15 euros. So like 15 euros for 2 pieces of the fabric. So you understand that I snatched that fabric and immediately went to check out. Even though I still didn't have a purpose for it yet, I just loved it. It was cheap and I knew that I wanted to have it. And then that same fabric laid in my house for another year or so, just untouched, collecting dust, until we got our own place, and now I'm making curtains for it. So I've got 0 sewing experience, and this is the sewing machine that we're working with. It's my mom's and she got it when she was 15 and she's 72 now, so it's really old. So yeah, let's just start with this chaos of a video and hopefully you can laugh a bit about my mistakes. So since the fabric was a bit see-through and we wanted to use it in the bedroom, I went to our local market to get some fabric to put on the inside. So I found this nice blue fabric which matched pretty well, I think, and this was 2 euros per meter, and I bought 6 meters. So I actually ended up using this fabric the wrong side out, since the right side is this kind of textured fabric, which is a huge attractor to all things, just dust and hair and just everything. And since I own 2 dogs, that just didn't seem like a good idea. So I put that textured side on the inside, and then I put this glossy side on the outside, just to make my life a whole lot easier. So I started this project by cutting down the fabrics to size. I did leave them a bit longer than I had to, so that later on I could just get them to the right length and I could still fold over the edges to make a nice looking edge. So basically I just laid both of the fabrics on the floor and measured it, and then I pinned it where I wanted to cut it, and then I got them to that size. I don't own any fabric scissors, so this was quite hard to cut. Don't judge me, this was my first project, but I definitely should get some. Then I pinned both of the fabrics together and folded over the edges to make a nice edge, and just pinned that down so I could sew both of the sides together. So I pinned all of this fabric together, which was quite a lot of work since it's a 2.5 meter curtain and I had to do both of the sides. But I was excited to start sewing it together. So I sewed along both of the edges, removing all of these pins. And I sewed pretty close to the edge because I thought that looked really good. And then when I flipped it over, I noticed that since the dark blue fabric is kind of ruffly a bit and it wasn't completely straight, it just didn't catch everywhere. So a lot of places both of the fabrics just weren't attached to each other. So I had to repin all of that and just had to sew another line next to it so that everything would be attached. So yeah, that was great. So I motivated myself to just keep going because I wasn't going to give up on this. And then I ran out of thread. So yeah, I just quit for the day. So I went off to the fabric store to get more thread the next day. And then I finished up the top with a nice edge. I folded it over and then I put kind of like a curtain band on it. I forgot to film that, but like where you hook in the hooks. I test hanged my curtain to see how long I wanted it to be. And I actually ended up sewing kind of a guideline first because both of the fabrics kept loosening from each other and it was really hard to flip it over. So I just first added kind of a guideline to just attach them to each other and then folded it over and pinned it nicely. So I'm sewing along that entire edge, and then halfway through my spool was empty, and since it was the backside spool I didn't notice it and I just kept on sewing, and then noticed like 2 meters down the curtain and I just had to repin the entire thing and had to re-sew it again. So I did that, and you would think that now it would be good, right? Yeah, it wasn't, because I pinned it on the wrong line and it ended up being way too long. So I'm unpicking all of that, cutting a bit of length off, repinning it for the 3rd time. And it still looks kind of bad, but we're not talking about that. And then I sewed it and now it's finally the right length. Afterwards it was done and it looks so pretty. I was so happy with it. And now I only had to redo all of that with a second curtain. Not gonna lie, I postponed that for like a month or so, until we very desperately needed a curtain because we were actually sleeping in the bedroom. And it actually took a lot less time since I kind of learned a bit from the mistakes that I made on the first go. So it was a lot faster. Would I do it again? Not sure actually. I'm really happy with the results, but I'm not sure if I would actually attempt this again. But I still learned a lot from it, so I'm happy I did it anyways. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this and see me make all of these mistakes. And if you never sewed anything before, maybe don't start with a curtain.